Swadika and good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nabunag.
And I'm Hatay Teshakit Tiranan. And kicking off the program tonight with something of the concern by many people in Thailand, as the daily COVID-19 infection rate has risen continuously over the past week, with records being broken each day since last Friday, including today's new high of 11,784. Friday's figure surged to 9,692, then to 10,082 on Saturday, the first time the number passed the 10,000 mark, and then to 11,397 on Sunday. The daily death toll peaked at 141 on Saturday, while 81 new deaths were recorded today. The cumulative total since April 2021 has risen to 386,307. More than 5,700 patients have recovered from the disease in the past 24 hours, with some 124,000 people currently infected. CCSA spokesperson Dr. Tawisin Wisnuyotin said today the worst case scenario would be almost 32,000 infections per day if no action has been taken, while about 9,000 to 12,000 cases per day are expected in the immediate future if everyone complies with all the new measures. The continual surge in cases has led to a hospital bed shortage in Bangkok and other provinces, with many asked to enter home isolation or community isolation programs in which remote medical supervision is given while patients wait for bath. Most of the new infections are now being found in communities, as only 100 of the new infections reported today were found in prisons, as opposed to a previous record high on May 17, which is 9,635, in which the majority of the cases were discovered in prison. Meanwhile, the CCSA also reported 8 new COVID-19 clusters in a metal factory in Samut Sakhon, a shopping mall in Banglamong district of Chonburi, a plastic factory in Thanyaburi district of Pathum Thani, Sintong Market in Nonthaburi, a furniture factory in Banpo district of Shah Cheong Sao, a salt market in Sa Kaeo, a shopping mall in Lopburi, and a chicken processing factory in Pathalung.
So we can see that most of the new infections come from communities as opposed to previously where it was mostly found in prisons, because based on the 8 clusters, they're all in factories, shopping malls, and in things like the communities as well. And
Right.
we can actually confirm that what has been dominant right now is the Delta variant, because it has been rapidly spreading and it has already overtaken the Alpha variant. And with the Delta cases, it accounts for 62.6% out of 3,000 samples examined by the Medical Sciences Department, compared to around 34.1% of Alpha cases. The department's Director General, Dr. Supakit Sirilak, said that the Delta variant has been found in 71 provinces across Thailand out of 77. He expressed concern that the surge of infections by the Delta variant, which is easily transmissible, also heightens the risk of virus mutations, citing last week's discovery of 7 cases who were simultaneously infected with the Delta and Alpha strains, but fortunately the viruses have not yet mutated. However, Dr. Supakit said that mutations of viruses are occurring all the time, and most of them are not a matter of concern unless the mutations cause the virus to be more easily transmissible or more resistant to vaccines. As for the Beta variant, which was first detected in southern provinces, he said that 91 additional cases were found in Narathiwat province last week, as more cases were found in the neighboring provinces of Pattani, Yatla, Songkhla, and Pathalung, and up to Chumphon province. One case was found in the northeastern province of Bungkan in a worker returning from Taiwan with 3 family members put on high-risk watch. Whilst in Bangkok, one case was reported last week, believed to have been infected by a relative arriving from Narathiwat province. So to keep it very simple, the Delta variant has overtaken the Alpha strain in Thailand.
And because this variant in itself is very transmissible, it is thought to be responsible for more cases we see right now. And with all the infections and deaths that we see from COVID-19, it is, of course, leading for the authorities to impose more restrictions. People living in maximum control and restricted or the dark red areas of Thailand are told not to leave their residences unless it is necessary to buy food or medicines, to seek medical treatment, to get vaccinations, or to go to their offices because they cannot work from home from tomorrow, Tuesday onwards to cope this rising figure. The dark red zone now includes 13 provinces with 3 addition of provinces. And after the addition on Sunday, this list now includes Bangkok, Nakhon Pathom, Nonthaburi, Pathum Thani, Samut Prakan, Samut Sakhon, Chha Cheong Sao, Ayutthaya, Chonburi, Narathiwat, Pattani, Yala, and Songkhla. This new measure is on top of the other restrictions in force since last Monday to contain the deteriorating COVID-19 situation in the country. The CCSA, in its latest announcement, has also adjusted pandemic zoning to reflect the actual situation in the country's provinces. Other lockdown restrictions imposed since last week will be extended until August 2nd, and these include the 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew, a ban on public gatherings or activities of more than 5 people, closure at 8 p.m. of all eateries and supermarkets, including those in shopping malls, convenience stores, pharmacies, and fresh markets. Dine-in services at all eateries are prohibited, and convenience stores can only open until 8 p.m. And a passenger limit on public transport of 50% of the loading capacity is also enforceable starting on Wednesday. However, provincial governors are empowered with the consent of their local communicable disease committee to order the closure of businesses and activities which are deemed to be at risk of contributing to the spread of the disease. Director General of the Department of Disease Control, Dr. Opatkan Kawinpong, said yesterday that more intense COVID-19 measures may be imposed again in the next 2 weeks, with a complete lockdown of cities and possibility in the next 2 months if the rate of infections and deaths does not increase by then. He said that if the new infection rate is still high in the next 2 months, there is a possibility that they have to impose a lockdown like in Wuhan, China, the origin of the pandemic since last year, to control the spread of the virus, where people have to really stay at home and not allowed to travel at all, and that all things such as food and water will have to be delivered to them instead. Meanwhile, branch offices of state-owned banks, which are located in malls or department stores in the 13 dark red provinces, will suspend their services starting tomorrow, Tuesday, until further notice, according to an announcement by the Government Financial Institutions Association, or GFA. The move is in line with the CCSA's tightening of lockdown restrictions in the dark red zone. The state-run banks include the Government Savings Bank, the Government Housing Bank, the Bank of Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives, the Export and Import Bank of Thailand, the Islamic Bank of Thailand, the SME Development Bank, and the Thai Credit Guarantee Corporation. The GFA further announced that it may consider closing down more branches in the dark red zone if it is necessary.
And in light of the restrictions, it has been confirmed that domestic flights into and out of the dark red zones will be suspended from this Wednesday. The Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand has been instructed by the Transport Ministry to suspend all domestic flights into and out of the 13 provinces declared as maximum controlled and restricted, or the dark red zones, effective from this Wednesday until further notice. According to Transport Minister Saksayam Chitchop, this suspension of domestic flights, including those to and from Bangkok, Suvarnabhumi, and Don Mueang international airports, is in line with the latest lockdown measures, which come into effect on Tuesday. The measures also include a limit on the number of passengers using public transports, including aircraft, set at 50% of capacity, and the imposition of social distancing in vehicles. Cargo and international flights under the Phuket Sandbox or Samui Plus schemes are exempted from this latest lockdown measure, including emergency flights or flights carrying sick people or medical personnel, which will be considered on a case-by-case basis. As for land-based public transport services, which also come under the new restriction, the transport company and Bangkok Mass Transit Authority, the operators of Bangkok's bus services, have been instructed by the Transport Ministry to arrange sufficient services to meet the needs of commuters, especially during rush hours, and to facilitate the travel for people seeking medical treatment or vaccinations. The bus service providers were also told to check the temperatures of all passengers strictly before they are allowed to board buses to reduce the risk of COVID-19 infections.
And with growing infections, there are growing calls as well for the procurement of mRNA vaccines or any other vaccines, basically, that more than that we have right now. So 50 million more doses of Pfizer, BioNTech, COVID-19 vaccine and an unspecified amount of Moderna vaccine are likely to be purchased by Thailand to address the continual surge in infections and deaths, according to Public Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul yesterday. And Mr. Anutin has assigned Thailand's Food and Drug Administration Secretary General Paisan Dankum to arrange meetings with representatives of the manufacturers of the vaccines already approved by the TFDA for procurement, especially the mRNA Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. The vaccine brands already approved by TFDA include Sinovac, Sinopharm, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer. Thailand is currently administering the first three, which is Sinovac, Sinopharm, and AstraZeneca. And this move to procure more of the mRNA vaccines comes as a supply of locally produced AstraZeneca is expected to be limited and delivery is expected to be slow, with 5 to 6 million doses expected from Thai firm Siam Bioscience instead of 10 million doses per month until November as initially planned, as well as a request to extend the deadline of all 61 million doses delivered to the ministry by the end of this year to May next year, 2022 instead. The Thai government is ordering 20 million doses of Pfizer right now, with delivery expected in the final quarter of this year, while 5 million doses of Moderna are expected to be procured as an alternative paid option at private hospitals later this year and early next year. And according to the CCSA, Thailand has received almost 8.2 million AstraZeneca doses to date, with Sinovac being the main vaccine administered in Thailand since February, with 14.5 million doses delivered so far, and millions more to be ordered to make up for the lack of AstraZeneca and other vaccines, despite some medical findings indicating Sinovac's slower and lower efficacy.
And speaking of AstraZeneca, the Ministry of Public Health will go ahead with a temporary restriction on the export of the locally produced AstraZeneca vaccine to ensure that there is sufficient supply for domestic use in the wake of the COVID-19 spread in the country. The Public Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul said that he has instructed Dr. Nakorn Premsi, the director of the National Vaccine Institute, to draft a ministerial announcement to set the appropriate proportion of AstraZeneca vaccine for export and for domestic use, which will be submitted to the CCSA for consideration. The Public Health Ministry wants to take delivery of 10 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine per month. AstraZeneca is produced by Siam Bioscience for AstraZeneca Thailand, which is the sole distributor of the viral vector vaccine in Southeast Asia. AstraZeneca Thailand is obliged under contract to supply their vaccine to other ASEAN member countries such as the Philippines and Indonesia. Meanwhile, the Department of Health has announced that it will go ahead with its mix and match vaccinations from today. The department said in its announcement that it has decided to change its vaccination plan by offering AstraZeneca vaccine as a second dose for those who have received the first dose of Sinovac at the department or at its other units earlier this month. The department also said that it will assess the results of the mix and match vaccinations to ensure that the people receive effective vaccinations against COVID-19 and herd immunity is being developed. People who have already registered with the department or its units for vaccination are asked to contact the units where they have registered for information about vaccination appointments.
And turning on now to politics, hundreds of people gathered in Bangkok yesterday to demand Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's government to step down, insisting that the budget of the monarchy and the military be cut during the pandemic, and calling for the importing of mRNA coronavirus vaccines that have yet to be brought to Thailand. 16 anti-government protesters were arrested by the police last night for allegedly violating the Emergency Decree and Communicable Diseases Act. 4 of them are minors aged 15 to 17, 14 slingshots and 70 glass pellets. 1 fixed blade knife and 1 pocket knife were found in a vehicle many of the protesters were caught in. Yesterday, the protesters led by the Free Youth Group rallied at the Democracy Monument before marching toward Government House, only to be met by riot police deployed behind steel barricades and razor wire. Violence broke out when some of the protesters, among them the Weibo guards, tried to break through the barricade, prompting police to respond with water cannons, tear gas, and rubber bullets. Several protesters have been injured. During the height of the confrontation on Pistonolog Road, protesters used several trucks to shield them from the rubber bullets and tear gas fired at them by the police as they tried to approach Government House. Many carry straw men to symbolize the victims of COVID-19 and an effigy of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha as the Weibo guards took the lead. Police blocked all access to Government House with cargo containers, steel barricades, and razor wire. Protest leaders called out the rally yesterday after several protesters have been found injured, but warned that they would protest again on a date yet to be fixed.
So we'll have to see how it's going to go for the protest groups now that the lockdown restrictions will be in place very soon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now it's time for the resumption of the Empowering Thai Women series, where we connect you to amazing Thai women who are successful and influential in their own ways. In this episode, I interviewed Jorirat Petsom, who has always been a strong advocate for environmental issues from a very, very young age. And although she calls herself as an ordinary woman who wants to make positive changes to the environment, this time she will be spreading her message onto the next level as this year's Miss Earth contestant.
To my local area and I walk on the beach. The beach is changing. Before it's like really beautiful, really white sand. For now it's like full of like microplastic, you know. So the dark side is, I think it's from the human behavior. We did not know anything about environment at all, and we have a lot of ego.
Jorirat Petsom describes herself as an ordinary woman who is passionate about travel and conserving the environment. She was recently named as this year's Environmental Ambassador for the Green World Foundation for her strong advocacy on environmental issues. Born in the southern province of Chumphon, Jorirat's interest in conservation began in 2005. It all started from her school activities, where she wanted to explore the world outside her school. She saw that joining the environmental group would be her ticket to getting out of school and having fun. The expectation of fun, however, turned out to be something much more.
I'm kind of like local city girl, something like that. So I want to see the world, something like that. So the beginning I joined for fun, that's why. And after that, my teacher and everyone around, when I saw them, when I meet them, and when I talk with them, they teach me a lot. Not just like, oh, this is beautiful, this is so fun, but in let's say like it's many things more after that.
After being exposed to both the beauty and the apparent environmental issues, she learned that the biggest problems for the environment all came from human beings. She also thinks that climate change is a wake-up call for people to stop polluting the planet. To solve the problem, Dorira believes that education should be reformed to make positive changes in society. She founded her own environmental camp to educate the younger generation. She also runs Ban Ban, a Facebook page that educates people about sustainable living.
I try to educate people why we need to care about environment so much, because for real, I don't want to buy oxygen in like 5 years after, you know. So you need to know the real information, and you need to be like empathy, not just for human to human, but human to the world as well. So I start my camp since like I think around 2 or 3 years ago. My camp named like Eco Young Camp. So I try to, that is like my experiment first time to like give my knowledge to young people first, because of course young people is easy to tell and easy to understand, easy to observe many things, right? And then it's really successful, I can say that. It's really successful because they really understand. Even now, 2 or 3 years after, they still like keep in touch with me. And their behavior is like changing, not just them, but their society, their family, and everything like keep changing and changing and changing, because they do understand already like why they had to spread the garbage, why they need to care about like total in the ocean, something like that. So I just want to say like back to basic. Everything is start from simple. You don't have to go to do something really fancy. You don't have to plant a tree like 10,000 trees somewhere. You just start from yourself first.
Dorira admits that fame can have a huge impact on getting the message across. She recalled when she was named the UN Sustainable Ocean Ambassador in 2019, alongside a famous actor and singer who advocated for marine and coastal environments. She then realized the differences between a celebrity and an ordinary person expressing the same message.
Of course, like nobody listens. It's really hard because like I'm just nobody. But I do understand in Thai society, if you did not be someone, nobody gonna listen to you. I just curious actually, why my voice is not louder enough. Even I speak the same. I don't want to blame the society because it's normal, and I do understand. I can say that because like that's why I still doing. Even like 5 years after, 10 years after, I still doing. I'm not stopped, but I just try to find like, because I know my weakness is like my voice is not strong enough to convince people, to let people like come back and listen to me. Yeah, that's the reason why I still doing like join the beauty pageant like the years after the years.
Competing in this year's Miss Earth Thailand, Dorira said that the purpose of the competition suits her values and what she stands for, compared to other stages on which she has competed. Dorira believes that taking part in beauty pageants helps her gain more recognition, which will help spread her message even wider.
I'm really excited about that, you know, because I know Miss Earth, they kinda concerned about environment issue for real, and I think this is my way to speak louder and louder. I'm gonna use like the Miss Earth platform to like tell the people what am I doing on Ban Ban, why Ban Ban needs to doing this, and why you need to follow me. This is my 3rd time. No, actually it's kind of 4 or 5 to join like beauty pageant, and every time I go to talk at the same thing. Like, oh, hey, listen to me. I do something about environment thing. Please listen to me just a little bit, and you're gonna understand. I still believe in that. I mean, in that like process of the beauty pageant. I mean, the woman can do something louder than be beautiful, you know. Let's keep the gender first. No need to be male or female. You can be also like LGBTQ. You can be anything you want to be. And after that, Just like do whatever you want to do. Don't let them tell you you want to be. Just listen to yourself first, what you want to do. Or even after you do that for a long time, 1 year, 2 years, and it's not, or maybe it's not right for me, that's okay. That's really fine. You can be the other thing too. Just had to come from yourselves, and everything gonna come follow after that.
So basically, what I've learned from this interview with her is that you have to really listen to yourself and what you really want to do in life. And once you know what you do, you can just go on and follow your passion right there.
For sure, this is definitely something that is really empowering and both inspirational to other people. And with that, we wraps up tonight's program. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, www.thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest news updates as well as in-depth analyses.
Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadee ka. Have a good evening.